Kingston, Jamaica welcomed the 8th Commonwealth Games in 1966. Elaine Tanner, a 15-year-old from Vancouver, anchored the freestyle relay team to a world record in her opening race. In her specialty, the butterfly, Tanner swept both individual events, lowering the world record in the 220-yard race. Canada's Mighty Mouse proved too fast for her opponents and was showered in gold yet again. Her final haul was 4 gold and 3 silver.
Well, my dream of being a swimmer started when I was a little girl of 6 years old, and we lived in California in Sunnyvale, and there was a lot of Olympic swimmers that lived near a pool that I used to walk by, and I used to watch them, and I thought, wouldn't that be a great thing to be an Olympic swimmer? So I took some swimming lessons, and the year was in 1957. And in here I have the Red Cross saying that I made it through the swimming lessons in 1957. So that was my very first thing that I ever had in swimming. And I have that framed. And this is my first club called the Lanai Club. And this was my first swim club, and I was 6 years old. And it all started from there. This is my original bathing suit that I wore down in California. And the dream just kind of unfolded from there. I just took one event at a time, one race at a time, and I guess I was just driven to be the best that I could be, and I had no idea that it would take me as far as it did. Sweat top here was the next part of my journey. That back in 1959 we came back to Vancouver, where I was born, from California, although I was sad to leave California, but it was a twist of fate because I ended up joining the Vancouver Dolphin Swim Club, and that's on the back there, and it was one of the best clubs in Canada. And my coach was Howard Furby, and he was the greatest coach in the whole world. I was so fortunate to be under his tutorship, and he led me on to great things. And this was the little sweat top that I wore when I joined the club. Okay, in April of 1966, my mom and we went down to Bartlesville, Oklahoma, and I competed in my first American Indoor National Championships, and no one knew who I was down there. I was a total unknown because America was a powerhouse of swimming, and the Aussies were too, and I was some little Canuck that they didn't know about. Anyway, I didn't know what to expect, but I came back with two gold medals and 2 American national records and a silver medal. And at that point in time, I guess that's when the world started to take notice of this little girl from Vancouver, BC. So these kind of American national medals mean a lot to me, and I have some pictures here that go along with it, which I had in my scrapbook, and that's from Bartlesville, Oklahoma in April of 1966, and that's me on the podium there. Well, my next step on the ladder from the nationals in the States was in the summer of 1966 in August. I made the Canadian British Empire Games team, which is now the Commonwealth Games. Anyway, I made the team, and when the press asked me, what do you expect to come back with? And I said a tan, because I had no idea what kind of medals I'd come back with, because again, the Aussies were competing, and they were pretty much all the world record holders at that time. So again, I went down there as a dark horse, but it ended up that I won 4 gold and 3 silver medals, and it's a historical significance because it's the first athlete, I didn't realize it at the time, that won quadruple gold, and then the 3 silver medals made it 7, which is the most number of medals ever won by an athlete in a single games. And also historically significant was on the first evening, I had a race, the final, and the new Canadian flag was flown at an international sporting event. So that again was kind of a historical event. So that all kind of tied in with what I did. And these are some of the apparel that I wore. That was my track top that I wore down in Jamaica. And this is the little bathing suit that I wore as well. And at the end of the games, I announce the athlete of the whole games. I was presented this Omega stopwatch, which is engraved on the back, as the athlete of the games in 1966 Commonwealth Games. So I'm really proud of that as well. During the Commonwealth Games in Jamaica, on my way to 7 medals, 4 gold and 3 silver, I also set 2 world records, and these are the 2 world records here that I set. My next achievement came at the end of 1966, and this is the Lou Marsh Trophy. Lou Marsh was the Toronto Star reporter in 1936, and they named a trophy after him in honor of him for Canada's greatest outstanding athlete, male, female, pro or amateur. And they award it each year to Canada's greatest athlete. And back in 1966, because of the Commonwealth Games, I became quite well known, although I was still quite shy. But I remember how I got word of the Lou Marsh Trophy. I was in high school, and I was sitting in class, and someone said, you have to go to the principal's office. So I went down to the principal's office thinking, uh-oh. But I didn't think I'd done anything wrong. Anyway, I had a phone call from Toronto, a long distance call. And this was back in 1966. And you don't get many long distance calls then. And I took it, and they said, we're from the Toronto Star in Toronto, and we want to let you know that you have been honored as the Lou Marsh Trophy winner for 1966. And I went, that's terrific. I said, but what is it? I never even heard of the Lou Marsh Trophy. So that's kind of a little cute little story that goes along with it. But anyway, and I did find out that I was the youngest. I was 15 when I received this trophy. And to this day, it's almost 75 years old, I think, if I do the math. And I'm still the youngest recipient of it. This also is a framed letter from the Toronto Star. My sister Glennis and I received the trophy in the summer of 1967, and this is a little thank you from the Toronto Star. And I read it the other day. It kind of brought a tear to my eye because it really brought back a lot of great memories. So anyway, this is kind of my collection on the Lou Marsh Trophy. So after competing in the games, I ended up with a total of 2 gold medals and 3 silver medals, which are right here, and 2 world records. And this picture here of it is me with Mark Spitz from the United States, who broke a number of world records that year with me. Of course, he went on to win 7 gold medals in the 72 Olympics. But so we trained a bit together too, so we became good friends and shared lots of pizza together. But anyway, I have to tell, there's a little history behind the 3 medals that I have here, and these are the silver medals. My 2 gold medals, I had given them all to the BC Sports Hall of Fame. They had quite a number of my medals and my Olympic medals. And unfortunately, many years ago, they had a break-in, and 2 of my medals, the Pan Am Golds, were stolen, along with a couple of my British national medals. And also Harry Jerome's medals were stolen, as well as Percy Williams. And they never did find them, so I was rather sad. So I only have the 3 medals, so they have a little bit of history that goes along. This frame here is the culmination of my dream when I was a little girl in Sunnyvale, California, when I dreamed to be an Olympic champion. And here was my chance, 1968 Mexico City Olympics. And this was my dream come true. And I ended up with 3 medals, 2 silvers and a bronze. And this is historical as well. I found out later, I didn't know at the time that I did this, but that I was the first Canadian female swimmer ever to win an Olympic medal, as well as I was on the first Canadian female relay team to ever win a Canadian Olympic medal. And as a third point, I was the first athlete in Canada, male or female, to win triple Olympic medals in a single game. So I'm really proud of this. I had a couple of Olympic records on the way, and was proud to represent Canada in Mexico City. I also found out that the triple Olympic medals in a single games has been a record for approximately 40 years. It was recently broken by Cindy Clausen in the Winter Olympics, she won 5 medals for Canada. So I was really proud of that. These are little historic treasures that I have from Prime Minister Pierre Elliott Trudeau. And this picture is autographed by Trudeau. And this was taken before the Olympics when I was training in Winnipeg at the Pan Am Pool. And he was flying into Winnipeg on the Trudeau Mania campaign that he had to become Prime Minister. And he knew I was in Winnipeg and did ask if he could meet me. So I was really honored and excited. And I got to meet Trudeau at the airport in Winnipeg. Of course, that was in the old-fashioned days when you walked out on the tarmac instead of going through the terminal. Anyway, and I met him there, and he was kind enough to autograph the picture for me, so I really treasured that. And this is a framed letter from Pierre Trudeau after the Olympic Games that he sent me personally to congratulate me on my medals. And also he gave me a great piece of advice. And it was, he quoted Pierre de Coubertin, who started the modern Olympic Games, and he said that it's more important than the medals is the participation in the games. So I thought that was rather nice. So that was really personal to me. And also from Pierre Trudeau, a little Christmas card that I received from him. And this was also a telegram. Most people won't know what a telegram is, but this was long before the emails. This was an archaic email that we used to communicate, and I was being inducted in May of 1980 to the International Aquatic Hall of Fame in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and he got wind of it and sent me a wonderful telegram of congratulations to me back down there. So that's really, and I framed that too, and it's been a real treasure. This next item actually is rather controversial, and it's kind of came as a surprise to me. But back in March of 1969, I was invited to be a guest on a CBC show that aired on Sunday nights and was very popular, called Front Page Challenge. Probably most people won't know what that was. But it was actually a show where they have invited guests that are mysteries, and they have to guess who the guest is. And afterwards they ask questions. And on the panel was a fellow who was a journalist, and rather controversial. He loved asking controversial questions, and his name was Gordon Sinclair. Well, eventually they did find out who I was, and I went, and when they asked my questions on my career and my swimming, and you have to remember this was 69, so I was like maybe 18, and and again it was in the 60s, so certain things were not spoken about. And Gordon Sinclair usually asked questions about, well, how much money do you make and all that sort of thing. Because I was an amateur athlete, he couldn't ask that question. So he asked me when I was on there, he said, when I was a boy at certain times of the month, girls don't get in the water. He said, so what does a competitive swimmer do? And I was rather shocked at the question, and I think everybody else was. And anyway, I thought, oh, what a stupid question to ask, and I can't quite remember, but I sort of smoothed it over. But anyway, after the show was over, there was such a controversy about the question that he got hate mail and phone calls, and it ended up on the floor of the House of Commons. I just couldn't believe what actually happened. And this in my hand is a framed, the original letter from Gordon Sinclair, written in March of 1969, apologizing for his faux pas on answering me the question on national TV. And being an old man, he said that he really apologized. And I actually had the original envelope that he sent it in. So I framed that, and I had forgiven him long before then anyway. But and this, behind it, is actually a framed copy of a letter that was sent to me on the same month from the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, from the Vice President, Mr. Holman, apologizing for Gordon Sinclair's faux pas and the question, and hoping it didn't embarrass me. I think probably Gordon Sinclair was more embarrassed than I was, really, to be quite honest. And this, actually, I found in my archives, is, in this envelope, is the original contract to go on the show, the Front Page Challenge. So actually that's the original contract and letter that CBC sent me. So that's kind of a cute little connection that has some history behind it. My next item is the which is right here, which is the classic moments in Canadian sport. And the Canadian Sport Federation picks a historical moment every year. And in 1993, May of 1993, I was honored that year. And they referred back to my 4 gold and 3 silver medals at the Commonwealth Games in Jamaica. So they honored me for that. It was really wonderful. We were up at Centre Block in Ottawa at the Parliament buildings, and I put on a big tribute dinner and lots of kind of nice things. So that was really special, and I thank the Canadian Sport Federation for that. This is a collection of my 5 world record certificates, original, and in the span of 1966 to 67, in the butterfly, the backstroke, the individual medley, and one of them was the freestyle relay team, which again has significance to it because when we won that event, that's when the new Canadian flag went up for the first time at an international sporting event. What I have here is the manuscript which I wrote in 2004. It's called Off the Deep End, the Elaine Tanner story. And I wrote it with my heart and soul. They are unpublished, but they are professionally bound and copied. And it was really an inspiration to write my story to help others on their journey of life through the trials and tribulations, the wins and the losses, and that's part of life and what we learn from it. And I wanted to take my lessons that I had and personalize it and help other people on their own journeys. So it really is a book of inspiration. And as I say, it's unpublished, so these are the 2 copies that I have, and I will autograph these. And what I did do after 2004, I decided to put my own story out on my website, elainetanner.ca, in a more condensed version. But again, I wrote that with my heart and soul, really enjoyed writing it, and hopefully it will help inspire others on their own journeys. The next items I have here are my pin collection. On my hat, actually 2 hats, on my travels around the world, going everywhere, Russia, South Africa, all the games, everywhere. And people love trading pins. So they just gave me pins and I just started putting them on my hat, and I went through this hat and I got many pins on this hat, and I have no idea where, I can't remember where half of them came from or what they are, but they're really amazing, amazing pins, and I know people really like collecting them. But it was kind of a fun way to kind of barter and meet people. But I just traveled so far around the world that and different games that I've got quite a different collection here, so it's really quite interesting. It's quite a treasure chest of pins. And on this little hat, this really means a lot to me, although he's really weather-worn now. But I'm very fond of him. This was my Scampy hat, my froggy hat that I wore at, I can't believe how small it is, at the British Empire Games in 1966. This was Froggy hat, and I wore him everywhere, and he gave me great luck. And actually I have some pictures of him at the games wearing this hat with all my medals. So this is very special to me, and I will sign it as well. This book is quite interesting. It's called The Encyclopedia of Swimming by Pat Besford, and it was written in Britain and published in the United States in 1971. And she basically was a reporter that covered all the swimming events from like 1936, and she covered the Olympics in Rome, Tokyo, and Mexico. And she's written quite an extensive book on swimming, and I was honored to be, to my surprise, to be pictured on the front cover. So this has kind of been a real kind of treasure for me, and I'm going to actually autograph it and give it away with my collection. Over my many years of competing, I've traveled around the world, and I've collected many things and have been given many things. So there's too numerous to mention. So there's telegrams from dignitaries, Most people don't know what a telegram is. It's an old-fashioned email. And I have like many pictures that are framed, autographed, Lester Pearson in the Prime Minister's office, which was taken in 1967. Pictures in Kingston, Jamaica at the Royal Military College with Bobby Orr. I have numerous like books with me in it, and that I'll autograph. Pictures with my autograph, different events, Olympics, and this is a picture with the Prime Minister Lester Pearson in his office with Nancy Green and Harry Jerome and Fran Huck, the hockey player. And I've got just collectibles. I've got coins and badges and International Hall of Fame, many things. And this, what I'm holding in my hand, is an original sports card set that was done as just a sample of Canadian athletes, Canadian amateur athletes, which is very rare. And they actually were never published. But there's Harry Jerome, myself, plus I have also made some copies with my signature on it. And this is an interesting picture which was taken when we traveled through New Zealand in 1967. And on the back of this picture, you can't see it, but it has an autograph of Peter Schnell, who was one of New Zealand's greatest middle distance and long distance runners. So that's quite interesting too if you're a track and field fan. So anyway, I just have so much stuff here. I just could go on and on. But anyway, it's just time to let it go. And I hope that you'll enjoy it for what it's worth. I have a wonderful collection that I amassed over a number of years. And I started off, this was all a dream for me back in 1957 in Sunnyvale, California, as a little girl. And I'm really proud of what I did. I have it all surrounded by me. But really the whole dream started, and the only things that I'm really going to keep out of all of this collection is my very first ribbon that I won in the nightclub in California. It's a first place ribbon, and I wanted this ribbon so badly, and I was 6 years old. And this is where the dream all started. It's the ribbon. It's the picture of my first swim team in Palo Alto, California, and a copy of the certificate of swimming that I got in California when I was 6. And this has the great significance to me because I have learned through life that it's the dream that sets you on the path. And I wrote a poem to a little gymnast. She was on her way to the World Tumbling Championships. And I said to her that the dream sets the path, but the joy comes in following it. And this is the joy that this dream set me on the path to all of this that you see around today. And it's been sitting in boxes, and John and I travel a lot. We have a different lifestyle. And I thought, you know, really, I want it to go to somebody or something that could make it and display it, because that's really not my lifestyle. There's a time in your life when you need to let things go and you're proud of what you've done, but really it's just material things, and the joy is in my heart. So I have let this go, and I really hope in my heart that it goes to maybe a corporation or some cause that can maybe display it and inspire children or people to reach and go for their dreams, and to see what a seed can take you, and it can go into a giant oak tree. Well, this is where this little ribbon took me. It took me into the world of international swimming and meeting dignitaries and traveling all around the world. So I hope that this collection can inspire other people. I'm very proud of it, and I think it's really time to let it go, and hopefully that it can help other people and that they will enjoy it. I do want to mention with this collection that I am letting go right at this time is that over the years, it's been like almost I hate to say 5 decades, but I have donated a lot of things to charity along the way, and I have given the BC Sports Hall of Fame and the Canadian Sports Hall of Fame quite a number of things, and they are on display as well. So I feel quite good about letting the rest of it go, and also that some of the proceeds that of this collection are going to 2 of my favorite causes. One is for the homeless, and the other is for animal welfare. So I feel really good about that, because I do want to help those 2 causes as well. So I feel really good about it, and I'm ready to let it go and go to a good home.